Gillen has been a lifelong patient of Ochsner. She first visited Ochsner in 1945, and to this day can recall her and her late husband's original Ochsner Clinic record numbers.
His number was 19762, and my number is 31219. And the first appointment that I had there was with Dr. Curtis Tyrone. He was a wonderful, wonderful person. You'd go and you would just feel like, well, I've been with someone who's just divine. He had such a good personality, kind, and just loving to all his patients.
Mrs. Gillen has the unique perspective of having been under the care of 3 of Ochsner's original founding physicians.
I saw Dr. Burns and Dr. Caldwell and Dr. Tyrone, of the originals. And I found out the more I went, the more I liked them, and the more I found out how good they were.
In addition to the treatment Mrs. Gillen received herself, she also remembers the personal attention given to her father by Dr. Alton Ochsner.
My father had a stroke, and they carried him to the emergency room. That was in 1960. And the hospital was so crowded, they had run out of rooms. And I never will forget, Dr. Alton Ochsner was down in the emergency room and brought him in. And they said, well, where are we going to put him? When they said they had to put him in the hospital. And Dr. Ochsner says, we got a long hall up there. And he says, we don't turn away one of our patients. Said he'll stay in the hall until we can put him in a room. That's the type person he was. That man was loved by everybody that knew him. He was a wonderful, wonderful man. He was kind, and he wanted he would tell his employees, I knew a nurse that worked there, and the first thing they were told when they were hired, that you be nice and good to the patient as well as to their family.
Mrs. Gillen's loyalty to Ochsner is rooted in her strong appreciation for the care she has received and for the personal connections she has made with her doctors, including cardiologist Dr. Chris White.
He calls me his favorite patient because one of his nurses claims me to be one of her favorite patients. So he kids around.
It's not a secret in my clinic. When I see her walking down the hallway, I announce to everyone that this is my favorite patient.
He had a trainee, and he said, do you mind if he takes your history, talk to me, ever what to do? I said, no. I said, I'm happy to talk to him. Of course, he come in later, and it was the 3 of us, there. And I told him, I said, Dr. White, this doctor is going to be as good as you, and it ain't going to be too long off. And you know what he said back to me? He says, oh, no, he'll never be as good as me. I said, I didn't say that.
She has a vitality and a vibrance to her, which she lives her life by. She is up. She's a joy for me to see in the clinic. When I talk to her in the clinic, she makes me feel better. She's the perfect patient to have in the middle of a long day when you need a little bit of a lift and you need a patient to make you feel good about you taking care of them.
For over 70 years, Ochsner has been a part of Mrs. Gillen's life, and she attributes her longevity to a few simple rules.
There was a LSU student. He was looking at something, and I was standing there, and he turned around and he bumped his buggy into me. And oh, he was so sorry. And he said, how old are you, lady? And I said, 90. And he said, well, how on earth did you ever reach that age? I said, clean living in Ochsner Doctors. So every time somebody asks me that, I say that. He patted me on the shoulder, and he says, lady, he says, I could go to an Ochsner doctor, but I sure couldn't live up to that clean living.